Hello everyone, Artisan Pirate here once again in beautiful downtown historic Gibsonville. You guys know a few months ago we went to the Gibsonville Garden Railroad, which is across the tracks and down behind that caboose. Now we're on the other side of the tracks, and today's adventure is going to take us to Gibsonville Antiques. This is a huge two-level mill that has been converted into an antique mall, and there's new stuff there, old stuff there, a lot of vintage stuff. I picked up a lot of Hot Wheels cars here and train stuff here, so I'm just going to go in and do a lap. This is going to be a very raw video where I just go through, and I'm going to probably, since they do have music playing in there, and for copyright reasons, take the footage back home, put it in the video editor, and just voice over everything. But I think it's a spot that's really worth a visit, and it's on kind of a back road here. Of course, historic downtown Gibsonville is over there, and one odd thing about this that I find funny is the hardwood store of North Carolina is right down this road, right at the end, connected to Gibsonville Antiques. So if you're also in the area and you're a woodworker like me, it's always worth a visit to go to the hardwood store. I would like to work it out where I can do maybe a visit to there and document their area as well. But let's turn the camera around and we will head into Gibsonville Antiques. And we will begin by entering the store, and as you can see, it is wheelchair accessible for those who may need that, or for elderly people who cannot traverse steps as easily. It's always nice that they have the ramp here. And we will enter the antique store and be greeted by the lady that's always there, and we will begin looking around. Now I'm quickly just going to go through here. If you guys see anything of interest, by all means pause the video and really look at something. This is a two-level antique mall, and I've got train stuff like you see here from this location, as well as several Hot Wheels cars. But really cool, there is stuff scattered throughout the two levels, and I believe this was a converted mill from way back when, and thankfully it was saved. It does have the nice hardwood floors and the rafters, and this is usually the area that I come to first when I visit. And this is where all the toys are and the vintage stuff like from my childhood. And again, just glancing around and looking at everything. Every time I go back, I see something new and unique. And as you can see, it spans several areas, and right up here is where I got my Hot Wheels lunchbox for a good bargain. It was where that green toy is now. And I won't show each and every vendor here. That would drag out the video way too long. It's just well worth the visit and a great way to spend time before lunch or after lunch. There's eating options across the street and across the tracks in historic downtown Gibsonville, and this area is right along a back road. Some of the classic white case VHS tapes, I've got a bunch of those from childhood. And what I will do is leave links down in the description box below for Gibsonville Antiques, and there is the tracks that the Carolinian traverses, going up and down, northbound and southbound. And you can see downtown Gibsonville off in the distance, and you can tell the vastness of this place. More vendors here, and keep in mind, I was trying to be respectful of the other vendors and shoppers that were here this day, so I was filming this on the little pocket camera that I filmed the train show and the Amtrak trip last year. It looks more like a cell phone, and I was just panning around everything. But I'll leave whatever contact info I can for Gibsonville Antiques down in the description box below, as well as my contact info. We will soon here be heading down to the lower level, and I just stopped and looked at anything that caught my eye. Of course, Hot Wheels or train stuff, or anything that give me a sense of nostalgia for my childhood. There's an old vintage Marks train station. And an old calendar from 1985. If it would have been 1988, I probably would have picked it up. It was the year I was born. And we are headed to the lower level. And the lower level is just as vast as the upper level. And there is a huge variety here. And I've picked up several goodies from both the upper and lower level. I didn't buy anything on this trip. I was actually in the area just to drop off stuff, where I am a vendor across the tracks at a store called Just For You. So if you're also in the area, you can see my stuff there. And I've always loved this booth. It reminds me of the old hardware and vintage mom and pop shops that my grandfather and grandmother used to take me to. That's the vibe this little area gives off to me. But really, really cool. And again, just browsing around, stopping and looking at whatever catches my eye. They do have some modern stuff here, so not strictly an antique store, but it is also packed with antiques, as you guys can see. And you could easily blow a couple hours here without realizing it. And this little area here is what I call the holiday room, because it is packed with vintage Christmas and Halloween stuff, but it is primarily Christmas stuff, just stuff from the 70s and 80s. Quickly pan around here before proceeding on, and we will continue around the lower level before heading back up. And again, I'm not showing each and every booth, and that is right, it is Merry Christmas. And I think it's kind of the status quo that every antique store has one booth selling vintage cards and comic books. I know my mom collects old football cards from the team she likes. And we are heading up the back side of the lower level. And we're going to come up on something cool that I stopped and looked at for a minute. An old vintage Morse code machine, but really, really cool. Heading back up now, and we'll proceed around the other side of the upper level. And I've always thought that this little area here, that this vendor lends itself to people who do steampunk or restore old and vintage furniture. I could see some of these brass fittings going on like an ornate picture frame or something, and they sell the pieces individually. And there is also a vendor here dealing with new old Lionel antique cars. These are all vintage from years gone by, but they are still in their original boxes. And before heading out, I will pan along the autograph wall, and this is right around the corner from the front entrance, and the lady will give you a Sharpie to sign it or put a quote on it, and I have signed it a couple times myself. Maybe you can find it if you visit. Hope you all have liked this video. And that is going to wrap up my tour of Gibsonville Antiques. I'm sorry that this video wasn't more in-depth, The store was open to the public when I went, and I was just respectful of all the other people that was in there shopping and the vendors and all, and just respectfully just panned my camera around. That's why I opted to do the voiceover instead of trying to talk and explain everything while customers were in the store. I hope people appreciate that. We are now back on the other side of the tracks where main historic downtown is, and there is places to eat. There's a huge jewelry store here. You've got Italian food there. There's Just For You, where we are vendors, myself with my woodwork, and then my mom with her ceramics. So really, really cool. It's always hustling and bustling up here. It's about 15 minutes from home. There is a historic caboose, and then as you see across the train tracks there in the distance is Gibsonville Antiques, where we were. But really, really cool. I hope you've liked this video. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button, and also follow me over on Instagram at Artisan Pirate. Links to all my social medias as well as ways to contact me will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one. Enjoy each and every day that comes, everyone. Take care, and remember, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.